Hello, everybody. This is episode 67 of Dissonant Waves. Got Tired Tricks and Woke Ritz here.
I'll probably be tired in an hour.
Yeah, I'll probably wake up within the hour.
And I'm Dominic, and I am just here being the equilibrium. I am like Anakin in the prequels. I bring balance. Should be all about me, but for some reason it's not. And with that very vain and self-centered proclamation, let's talk about what we're doing this week. We have
Indeed.
more of Montreal. We're doing the False Priest Deluxe Edition. We're doing the Controllersphere EP. Talking about Dr. Colossus' album. I'm a stupid moron with an ugly face and a big butt, and my butt smells, and I'd like to kiss my own butt.
What a prank call.
And then Trix has decided to grace us with a compilation called Noteworthy 01 and some accompanying singles and EPs from the acts that are in it. And we are also back from our infamous disaster last week. Let's hope nothing happens this week, knock on wood.
Where I fell asleep and Dominic died.
My computer took like 3 hours to get back to where it should be. But we're here.
Yeah.
We are here. Trix, you wanted to talk about the Adam Freeland remix of Lana Del Rey's Summertime Sadness last week, and we never got to it.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Transition.
That is that last week then. That is all we wanted to cover. Which album should we start with? I'm thinking.
I want to just point out what I've done today.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're gonna say as a mini-sode if Trix didn't come online, but she did, so now I'm just gonna cram this into 5 minutes. So obviously growing up, big into Guitar Hero. Don't think anyone's surprised about that. I probably mentioned it a couple times on this podcast as well. No shame, I'm still into it. And a while ago, like a couple months back, I bought a Rock Band 4 controller for the Xbox One with Rock Band 4. Now, this is not cheap. I think it cost me... I got the drum set as well. And, well, that I gave to my brother. I don't have it here, but I think in total that all cost me $200, so it wasn't cheap. Although that isn't expensive for this, for what they're worth now.
Yeah.
But the big problem is that the yellow fret, the main yellow fret on it, was inconsistent as hell. And I had to search, found the solution on Reddit. I just spent an hour today taking apart every single fucking screw in that controller. There is a lot. Taking the whole thing apart, parts of it just wouldn't come undone, so forcing it open, managed to get it there. And all I had to do was get this one button and turn it 90 degrees after cleaning it slightly. And once I had done that, put it all back together. It was a bitch. It was an absolute bitch to do.
Work of a saint.
But I put it back together. Everything screwed in. And it's not a perfect yellow fret, but it's working better. So lads, Rock Band is back on the menu. Clone Hero is back on the menu. If I'm not here next week, you know where I am.
Alrighty then.
Cloning your
Don't
Rock
let your
Band.
dreams be dreams, kids. You can always fix your guitar. That's
Fair
all. That's
enough.
all I wanted to say.
All right.
We're gonna move on to Noteworthy 01.
Yeah. The Trix, tell us about Noteworthy 01.
Alright, so I found this compilation initially because Petite League was on it. And Recluse is on it, which was one of my favorite songs at the time when I found it. And so I thought it would be a fun idea to just kind of cover this, because there's a couple bands on here that only have like nothing more than like an EP or a single or two, and I thought it'd just be kind of fun to like just knock all this out, talk a little bit about the New York indie scene.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, doing some research. These are all Brooklyn based. Some of them are still active, some of them aren't. We have Plain Dog, we have Grim Streaker, we have Your Dog, Blasteroid, Native Son, the 94 Knicks, and Thick.
Sick.
Yes.
You gotta say in all caps because it's all caps. It's Thick.
Fuck. Did I get it?
And Petite League, of course.
Yes.
And then, doing the research, we got off to a great start learning about Plain Dog. and how the singer had passed away a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's not
And
the only band to have a member pass away though, and not in this week.
oh right, yes,
Yeah,
Nathan Johnston, I believe, right?
I believe that was his name. Yes.
Yes, the co-founder of Dr. Colossus.
Hmm.
A lot of death this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Funny how that works.
Plain Dog was one of the ones you seem to like a bit because you have Girl Named Phil, the single that they have on this Noteworthy 01 as your alarm, right? Correct?
Yeah, it has been my alarm for 3 or 4 years now, and I have single-handedly watched a YouTube upload creep from about 100 views to about 700 just from my alarm.
Mm-hmm. And you've given us the graciousness of giving us singles and EPs to cover for each band. You only gave us a single for Plain Dog. For
Yeah,
Petite League, we've already covered Petite League. No need to worry about that. Grim Streaker, you had an EP. The Girl Minority EP. Your Dog, you had Talking to Bob, their only EP apparently. Blasteroid, the pretty good EP. Native Son, you got a bunch of singles, and then there was an optional Always Different, Always the Same EP. The 94 Knicks, a bunch of singles. They just came out with an EP. And Thick,
Yeah.
It's Always Something.
yes.
And some of it was like not essential listening, like a bunch of the 94 Knicks singles and the Native Son EP, but you did cover a wide swath of this stuff. Why did you choose some and not other stuff?
I listened to just everything, and because I'm like, a lot of these I'm probably not gonna cover more than once, and so I just kind of picked the best they had.
Fair enough.
Fair. I mean, I mean, I didn't get to listening to a lot of the other stuff on there. That's just how my week has been, but whatever. I still listen to the Noteworthy 01 stuff, and I was actually kind of surprised how much I ended up liking this, especially since this is Rip's one into the night era Petite League, so I assumed it was gonna probably be a bit more poppy. But I mean, Recluses probably is one of the more heavier tracks on Rip's one into the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, songs like "Girl Named Phil," palindromes are fucking banger. By the way, I've got it on right
Oh,
now.
hell yeah.
I've got it on right now again. It's fucking fantastic. There's some good songs in here. The only, it's hard. It's hard for me to like rank this too high and like stuff that we've covered this stuff this year because it's a very short compilation. But what we got on here is kind of like a best of the underground.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
really like that. I do think because I listened to everything, I took notes and everything, and I do have a ranking of all the underground bands that we've found. I have them ranked with everything else in this episode. Want to go down that route, but
So when Dominic lies in bed with another man, he has something to talk about in the morning to make sure they leave.
yes. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the disappointment that I felt listening to Native Son and how they never really to me went beyond the coolness that is Palindrome, because I feel like they're represented here a bit. They have some cool stuff going on with like the government shutdown single and all that stuff, but like something about it never really hit for me. It was always just kind of
That's understandable.
like they're a band that wants to go hard and they want to be very political, but I just feel like they don't actually go very hard.
Yeah, not hard enough, at least.
Yeah.
Hmm.
For a band that really wants to like push the envelope a bit, talk about, government shutdowns and all the thematic stuff that they do, because they're very proud of being a band of immigrants from Mexico, and that's really cool, and I dig that.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know. I feel like they talk themselves up a little bit to be kind of like a Rage Against the Machine type or something, and they're just not that at all.
Yeah, I totally get that. It's the next album might be more along that vein. I just think it's kind of just fun tunes. I didn't really dive too deep into it, but yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It was just like I kept like Native Son was definitely one like right away I was interested in, and then like listening to them more, it's like okay, they're kind of just on the level of everyone else. Their EP was
Yeah,
not essential for a reason. I feel like.
yeah, and also because it was getting too long with their EP, and so they're like the first one I cut. So
Yeah, they have 6
because
songs in the EP.
yeah, my initial working cut of this was 2 hours long. So
It's like, well, this is six tracks,
uh,
and Dr. Colossus' album is 7 tracks. Like, where's the? You're very close to for one being the other.
yeah,
Add a couple more songs.
I mean,
It's on
Dr
EP. There's an album.
Colossus, despite being one track less, is almost double the length though.
That's fair.
yeah. That's a doom metal for you.
Hmm.
But there was some acts I was really interested in. Like Blastoid's pretty good EP. I really dug. And
Yeah,
like
Blasteroid is one of the standouts on this compilation.
like songs like Oath and Heater, they just sound really interesting. They sound like a cool band that has a cool sound.
Yeah, and that's all they did was the EP and the single.
Yeah, pretty much. Really did a little bit more. Like Your Dog talking to Bob, that was literally all they did.
Yes, it was.
And that was also like kind of interesting. I also really dug Drool off of Talking to Bob EP. That track
Yeah,
really fucking was cool.
Your Dog was pretty cool too.
Yeah, like those are probably some of my highest standouts.
And they did nothing else.
Right, those are the bands that are like the ones that are not really active. Sad part.
Yeah.
Thick, I also really dug their EP, and they're still going. Like it's always something.
Yeah, I haven't listened to their album yet because I was trying to stick to just EPs for that. I
Yeah,
felt like it would have been a bit much of a tacked on an album, and I might dive into them at some point. I don't know.
but like Puke's Diner and like Wasting My Time and stuff are legitimately like cool songs. I really dug like what they were doing with that.
Oh yeah,
Like Puke's Diner is probably one of the better songs from this whole mess that you've created for us. Give me that. Give me Drool. Give me probably like Open Heater, and that's probably like my top tracks from this whole thing that are not like the Noteworthy one stuff.
yeah, that's fair.
Like I also really dug the '94 Knicks work, but you said you were not as hot on that stuff.
I was not as hot.
Because they're a band that really likes the promise stuff
Uh,
and very very much under deliver in every single aspect.
oh yeah,
Because they released like a bunch of singles in like 2016, 2017, and then they went quiet. They're doing like shows and whatnot. They were promising like EPs and albums they've been teasing. As of like the recording this, they just like put out an actual EP like a month ago.
yep,
And it's just like, okay, where is all this stuff you've been promising? Your sound is cool. I really dig Marky's Dilemma, like what they're doing with that kind of stuff. It's very DIY, very like kind of lo-fi-ish, and kind of seems to me to be the most lo-fi of the bunch.
yeah. I'll give you that.
Like
It's
most scrappy.
yeah. There's a lot of heart in this compilation.
Yeah. But there is surely like interesting stories about like the singer Russell for playing Dog and his unfortunate demise. That setting the tone for everything we found out afterward.
Yeah,
What's some stuff you liked?
I enjoyed a good chunk of it. I've had this idea on the back burner for like a year now where I'm like, I should do Noteworthy 01. And it's like, oh, what else should I cover? Oh, I guess I should kind of talk about the other stuff that some of the bands did because I haven't really heard about much of them. So and it was just kind of that.
Right. Because like Petite League is without a doubt the most successful band on this compilation.
Yeah, without a doubt.
If not necessarily in streams necessarily, but at least in consistent releases, activity, popularity, probably overall like social media following.
Yeah.
Like Group Streaker had like an album out, but I don't know if they're really super active. Native Son's been getting a lot of buzz, which is really cool.
Yeah, they had an Audio Tree live recording.
Once you make it to once you make it to audio tree, you're like that's a good sign of going somewhere.
No, we also
Yeah,
haven't
it
talked
is.
about with Plain Dog the other bands, unless you have and I completely zoned out the other bands that were playing at the tribute show as well for them because there was some actual
Uh,
pretty big names. Well,
Surf Rock is dead.
not just Surf Rock is dead, but No Vacation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 94 Knicks were playing a show, if not that one, then a one around that time with them.
Mm.
So like, like I was not seeing a ton of overlap with all these bands, but I'm sure they've probably done shows together. They probably are aware of each other. Like they were all from
Well,
Brooklyn.
it's like No Vacation. Their songs have millions of strings, and then plain streams. Sorry, not strings, streams. And then Plain Dog have thousands at most.
Yeah,
Completely
Yeah.
different. Just in terms of popularity, and it just goes to show probably who these bands are we're playing with. It's kind of like a Cardinal Heart playing with Beach Bunny moment.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's still so amazing that happened. But
Mm.
plus, like the thing is, like these bands could all be doing shows. They could have activity, but it's hard to know that unless you're in Brooklyn. Sense. Maybe Blast Star is still doing
Pretty
stuff.
much.
So it's like if we had done this 6 months ago, the 94 Knicks would have been off the radar. Music wouldn't even have been on streaming services because it all just got
Yeah.
re-uploaded with like I think with the lead into their new EP T2, which I'm assuming is probably like take two, or like giving it a second shot entirely or something.
Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah, I will say that I think they slightly changed the name of their band in a weird way
yeah,
because if you click on their name from at least on YouTube Music, if you click on their name from the compilation album,
Mhm.
Noteworthy 01, it does not show up. It shows up as empty.
But what is
So
it? Is it just 94 Knicks or was there like what is the difference?
it's the same thing. It's just they didn't quite mark it down. It's not quite it's the same but not the same, if that makes sense. They have two different channels with the same
Gotcha.
name.
Kind of surprised they even could get that name because it's literally just referencing the '94 Knicks
Yeah.
basketball team. Basketball. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's basketball.
I think like at least one of the like because I listened to a lot of this on YouTube at first because that's just what I had access to when I started listening for them. At least one of those videos. I was the first view. Yeah, they're really starting out from square zero there. Like no real marketing, no real attention being paid to them. Like it's just really a take
Yeah.
two for them completely.
Hmm.
In a sense, like where Plain Dog's Cherry Cola has had some traction because it was in a couple like I think it was in like Brooklyn Nine-Nine or something. Native Son is
I
getting
didn't
a lot of
realize that.
attention. Yeah. Like here is 94 Knicks back at it where probably Street Fighter is their most streamed song right now still. Just
Yeah.
because they've restarted.
Yeah. I will say I don't know if you guys watched the music video for Cherry Cola, but it is a weird
It
weird
is.
trip.
Directed by Russell the singer.
Yeah. About a dude living in a cola bottle.
Yes. The adventures he has with some girl.
Yep.
Always a girl involved. Storytelling for
Yep.
people. I don't know. I really dug this idea. I'm glad you did this.
Yeah. This was something I kind of had on the docket for a while, and I'm glad I did it.
I feel hard doing a favorite and least favorite, but my favorite's definitely the I already forgot what it's called, and despite the fact that
Palindrome.
yeah, palindrome. Thank you. I
But
think
no,
palindrome is definitely my favorite. I don't really have a least favorite. I think I'm only going with the Noteworthy one. I'm not going to go bother going into all the EPs.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was surprised by some of the choices for this album for sure. Like I don't know if they were just asking around for artists to give anything they had for singles because it's like the variety, like tone, like some of them are slower, some of them are a little bit more depressing, some of them are faster, some
I
happier.
I think it might all be the same label.
Well, yeah, it's Glass Note Records that
Mm.
put it out, but like this
Yeah.
is like their first
Don't,
release. I'm pretty sure, so they were just asking people probably.
gotcha. I didn't really look into it too too much.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I like the sense that I get from like at least because like all of these were pretty much unique to this. Like Reclusa was a single because it got released on this first.
Hmm.
But like first like for 94 Nixon like Street Fighter, like you only see Street Fighter here. the only place you can see that song. But
Yeah.
my favorite's probably like Reclusa, obviously. Girl Named Phil is kind of cool, memorable. Palindrom's probably Native Son's best song. Least favorite, I don't know. I didn't like Grimstreaker was okay. They had at least like one or
Yeah,
two
Grim
songs.
Streaker shines more on their EP.
Yeah, like I like one or two of their songs on the EP, but they were probably like overall toward the bottom for me, where it's like probably Native Son and Grim Streaker are at the bottom. I like 94 Nicks a little bit more, so that's probably next. And then if Blasteroid and Your Dog are toward the top, Petite League's obviously completely out of this league. Plain Dog is probably below Your Dog. Yeah, that's it.
I mean,
And Six like
I'd
right
say
there
I
too.
like Palindrome more than Reclusa though.
All right.
Yeah, but your opinion doesn't matter because you don't like Petite League's earlier work.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you got into them with Joyrider, which I do appreciate.
Indeed.
And we should mention, as of this recording,
I liked Rattler.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
We should mention, as of this recording, we have plans to go see Petite League, Trix and me. They're going to be in Nashville, and
that'll definitely be fun.
I'm decided to drive 8 hours down to Nashville and then spend a weekend.
It's only 4 for me, so I'm gonna just kind of drive down, drive up.
So Dominic, what are we gonna do next? I'll let you pick and pick the album that's not your number one.
Like, you make it super easy then. Let's just talk about Dr. Colossus.
Which I'm just gonna be honest, I enjoy way more than False Priest.
You have to understand, False Priest is my favorite of Montreal album.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it's not. It's maybe not the best one, but it's certainly my favorite.
What does Trix think?
This was a real solid doom metal album. I only ended up listening to it once. My week has been kind of a mess.
Yeah, fair.
Because I've been packing and all that kind of stuff.
I've only given a single listen to some of these as well, so that's fair.
So, yeah. But I enjoyed it. I'll definitely come back to it. I don't really have much to say because I didn't get to spend enough time like immersed in the doom, as it were. But
so, Dr. Colossus. I discovered this band in 2019 when a co-worker who unironically listens to the Alvin and the Chipmunks on 1/16th speed.
Oh God.
That's a fucking banger album. I'll give him that.
Yep, he unironically listens to that. He's that much into stoner and sludge and all that doom metal. And around when Oakley Dokley were getting popular, as he said, he doesn't like Oakley Dokley. He thought they were just a little bit too much on the Flanders side, and it was just too like
right.
it was a one trick pony. But this band, he just showed me the what song was it that he showed me? Stupid Sexy Flanders of Death Mountain. And later that week, when I went to a record store, I found their album The Dank, and I gave that a listen in full. And now this last album, I found out released when another co-worker posted it in a Slack channel saying, "Has any of you guys heard this?" And this is 2 completely different jobs, 2 different co-workers.
That's excellent.
Both of these co-workers I've talked music with and stuff, and I'm pretty much on the same pages with them. And Dr. Colossus has had kind of a weird history.
We should mention their whole gimmick is Simpsons doom metal.
Yeah, their whole gimmick is Simpsons themed. They're not based like Oakley Dokley just on Flanders. It's just Simpsons, and I was gonna get to that.
Okay, sorry.
The history of this band's kind of weird. They started off as a duo, and they were this was kind of a side project for them. Over time, they would turn into a trio, and by the time that they recorded The Dank, they were officially a trio. But then a couple months after that, the drummer dies in his sleep.
Oh.
And so now they're kind of a bit confused on what to do with the band as well. Like, we're talking, this is talking past the grieving period. Obviously this is quite heavy and devastating news to get because he's one of the founding members.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly, what they've decided to do with the band, instead of just saying it can't continue without it. It's kind of continuing on in his memory, as I think one of the members said. They felt like creating this band was not the right thing to do, as they felt that this band member would have wanted more stuff to do with it.
Right, like
So
when he died, there was stuff that they felt that he would not have liked to be left unfinished.
Yeah. So they've picked up 2 extra members, and in 2019 put out the single 66 and 6. And now this year have finally come out with their first full length as the 4-piece, and since the unfortunate death. And this whole kind of gimmick, it's definitely one of the best uses of this gimmick I think you can have. There's obviously a lot of Simpsons themed music out there. Out in Adelaide, there's an electronic remixer, like kind of DJ thing who does a lot called Dankmas. There's other
who
remixes
is now
as well.
Dick Pod.
Yep. But when it comes to this, the way that they have it isn't like they're using Simpsons music and remixing it or anything. It's that all the lyrical content is based off Simpsons episodes, and that works so goddamn well for doom metal in a way I didn't expect it to work. Doom, stoner, whatever, it's always kind of based on like having this theology and mythology kind of going around, or this whole like overarching story,
right?
Kind of sounding a bit horror. And one of the best songs off this, Lard Lad, is literally just the Treehouse of Horror episode where all the billboards come to life.
Yeah.
That's the whole lyric content, but it works so well in the way that they describe it. It actually sounds like a proper stoner song. Like they don't sacrifice any of the stoner metal or doom metal or whatever to call it for the theme. They make the theme fit with it.
Like
that is very impressive.
Like the thing is, like, you don't need to watch Simpsons to like this album.
Nah.
Like I have never really watched The Simpsons. I've seen episodes. I am aware of what it is, obviously, but I could not tell you like a lot of the references. Like I know who like Santa's Little Helper is. I can imagine some of these sequences how they would play out probably, but like I just really enjoyed this album for what it was, and it's like, oh yeah,
Sex Cauldron. If you didn't know that joke, you would genuinely just think it's a song that's kind of just about like a one night stand, or just like anything that's kind of whole like very dark look at sex. But it's just the crusty joke of like we're talking about sex in front of the children, or the sex in front of the children. Sex Cauldron. I thought they closed that place down. And that's what the chorus to this song is. We're not talking about love here. We're talking about sex.
Yeah.
Which is the line from The Simpsons. But the way that they just put it in, the way that they kind of have emotion with it, somehow, you could, if you didn't realize this was Simpsons, if you had somehow completely not heard of any Simpsons whatsoever, you might actually mistake that for some more meaningful lyrics, because it's just that well implemented.
The thing to say is that from the timeline of it, they technically put out their first EP before Oakley Dokley was around.
They were around before Oakley Dokley. I think they when they said when Oakley Dokley came in, they said like, we've missed our chance. Fuck.
But they were around beforehand, so if anything, they thought of it first. They had a better claim to it. Yeah. Plus, it's like
there's a big reason why I don't really want to compare them to Oakley Dokley. This band is much better than Oakley Dokley.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oakley Dokley isn't really even like dude either. They're more kind of like a thrash.
Yeah, that's a gimmick.
They're an absolute gimmick. If they can't manage to do Flanders with it, they don't. But in here, it's if they can't manage to do the doom metal, they don't.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference, and that's what makes like this better. Like, can we just talk about Lard Lad again, about how fucking good of a song that is?
It's really good.
Yeah. This is just like solid doom metal. It's impressive.
Yeah, I would put this among the top doom metal albums we've covered on this podcast.
It's definitely my favorite. There's been a lot of doom metal that just hasn't been interesting, and maybe it's because it's more accessible because I grew up with The Simpsons as well. But
that might be.
I don't even like this because of The Simpsons. I think The Simpsons part of it just helps them with their songwriting, because they feel like they need to do lyrics, and they have a good vocalist, so don't get me wrong about that. And they're able to do coherent stories because they're just basing it off Simpsons episodes. It's a very simple thing, but it's just working so well.
It's like I compare this to like stuff we've done like Witch or Pigs X7. Just like this is like so much more like enjoyable to me than even those were.
And the songs don't sound the same. There's
No.
quite a bit of variety in this 40 minutes and 7 songs. So this is impressive.
Yes.
I gone into this thinking that would have a bit of a fun time, and I listened to this stuff before. I knew it wasn't too memey compared to what the actual theme that they do is, but this is probably the best work that I've heard from them. I'm genuinely surprised that you can write stuff just about The Simpsons and have it sound this good. That shouldn't be a thing. That just shouldn't. Everything on here is just a reference to The Simpsons. All the titles are The Sex Cauldron, Pickabard, Lard Lad, So Long Stinktown, Get Mendoza, Space Coyote. The actual cover to this, I'm pretty sure, is in a reference to the Space Coyote because it's supposed to be in that episode of The Simpsons where Homer gets eats that chili and it's so spicy that he ends up having an existential crisis and it has all these hallucinations and stuff and is crossing this large desert, which I'm pretty sure is kind of what that cover is supposed to represent, but it also has this actual proper doom aspect to it. I'm pretty sure if you look at the non-Spotify cover as well, you actually have Otto on the cover. If I just go and quickly look at the Bandcamp for it, but the Spotify is completely blanked out with that person. Yeah, so there's actually two. So if you look at the Spotify cover for this, all you see is Donkey, and the two characters' faces are black. But on the actual Bandcamp and actual proper CD, Otto is the first person, and it's Barney is the second.
Ah.
Which I'm guessing I didn't put on the Spotify for proper reasons. But again, that's something that you wouldn't be able to tell because it looks just genuinely like a proper doom metal thing.
Yeah.
It's a sleep reference. It's a dope snooker reference.
Yeah.
I would say
Good thing Trix gets
sonically,
that one.
they're somewhere in like the mid 2000s or like 2000s kind of sound. Not next, like kind of just that rock and metal of that era. I feel like not exactly like the experimental progressive stuff that we have now, but like there's definitely a sound that they captured that I enjoy. And like I don't know, just like each song just has stuff to really like be interested in. Like there's like a lot of subtle like vocal harmonies and pick a bar, and then there's like that whole section where they just rhyme words that kind of sound like Bart, which I'm sure is probably a reference to the episode, but it still sounds really cool.
Yeah, no, Trix has just put out the original Dope Smoker stuff because again I don't know too much into Dope Smoker, so that's actually good that Trix is informed in this stuff. So that's some references I didn't pick up on.
And incidentally, this is helping Trix's whole doom metal journey.
Yeah. So it's both,
it is.
I think it's both a reference to that Simpsons episode and the sleep. I think that because I feel like maybe it's more a reference to the sleep, but I guess we'll find out. I just feel like when there was Space Coyote on there as well. But nah, this is impressive. I'm probably just gonna buy the CD after this episode. I might buy Doing, to be honest.
Yeah, I bought the digital version already.
Yeah, these people deserve the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this is really like oh man, like the singer is really good. Just the composition, like kind of how there's that like big explosionist sound in Lard Lad, and how they dial it back to a really minimal sound for like the verses. Come back and
and
like
when it kind of has like
chorus.
after the second chorus and it has like this breakdown that happens and it just goes it flows back so well into the original sound that it's doing as well. These people aren't just a bunch of musicians who decided to be funny to make some Simpsons from doom metal. They are genuinely talented. It's not just competent. It's not just people with potential. This is fantastic. This is. I wouldn't call this a perfect album, but this is at least a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, this is like
it's a pretty good album.
Yeah, I kind of wish there was even more than 7 tracks, but the 7 tracks that we have are great.
That's all. I don't have one. There's no way I can give you a least favorite on this.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's all pretty solid.
Lard Lad's pretty much my favorite, I think. But like this is a unit. This is a whole thing. It's hard to say one part of it's worse.
You can listen to the tracks individually, but you can also just put it on as an album, and it's just as good.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's not my favorite because just because False Priest is like just my jam, but it's really, really good.
It's now going to be dependent on whether or not Trix likes this more than Noteworthy 01.
I'm gonna be honest. Noteworthy 01 is my number 3.
Fair.
Mine as well.
But don't have a bad album this week though.
Nah.
But are we ready to move on to False Priest?
Unless anyone else has got anything else to say about this album. Album good.
Good.
Album very good.
Album good.
We'll get.
Cool. I'm gonna go buy it on CD right now.
All right.
Nice. All right. So we're back to Of Montreal. We're back to False Priest Deluxe Edition. We're back to the Controllersphere EP, wrapping up this journey through the Georgie Fruit saga, kind of coming into the home stretch now. A couple more things to do. But the thing that I really like about this album is that John Bryan was the producer, the co-producer at least, which does not happen very often for Of Montreal records, because Kevin Barnes usually does a lot of production himself.
Yes.
And so that very simple change, I think, has done a lot. And surely changed the sound of this to really make this album very unique among everything else that they've been doing. John Bryan, of course, being a kind of indie producer, film score person, later did some stuff for Rise of the Phoenix, later co-produced Janelle Monáe's Dirty Computer. But
Yep.
This is also an album that brings us all the way full circle back to the beginning of the show when I did like Janelle Monáe and Of Montreal pretty close together for the first time. And Janelle Monáe is on this album. Two non-binary icons coming together way before they came out.
Indeed.
I just really, really dig this sound, this album. It's not like a perfect through line like Skeletal Lamping and Hissing Fauna are. There's definitely some peaks and valleys.
This is where we fight. First off, I want to say, just ordered the CD, so get some good news in there. I'm really not into this era of Montreal. I just don't know what to say. If we want to talk about the Controllersphere, I think the Controllersphere at least tries to be a bit more interesting and a bit more ambitious, but even that one isn't as good as like the previous EP or I guess Icons Abstractly is.
Sure.
This just kind of bores me. My favorite off this album is a remix.
Our Righteous Defects?
No, it's Coquette Starfucker remix.
Oh yeah, the Starfucker remix of Coquette's pretty good.
Yeah, that's the only song I find interesting off here. Everything else, like, this comes just after Skeletal Lamping, which is my favorite Of Montreal album. I think that album is just fantastic from start to finish. Has all these sounds that go yes, 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 and this just goes
like this is the return to like actual instruments. There's pianos and guitars all over the fucking place. They got string sections and flute moments and just so much happening.
The more that I go into this era of Montreal, and I know I'm doing hot takes of the Of Montreal fan base here, but the more I go into this era, the more I realize that Lousy of Sylvie and Briar was a goddamn miracle.
Right.
Because Kevin was not improving up until that point. And then like Lousy of Sylvie and Briar is still fantastic. I go back to it. And it's not like, oh, now that I've listened to this week. No, that's still a fantastic album.
It is.
But but all this other, like, this period after Skeletal Lamping to that album is just boring. I maybe I've been spoiled with Of Montreal. Maybe there's only been like the two eras of Montreal that I've really seemed to care about, and that's, I guess, Satanic Panic. I don't mind as an album from around that era to Skeletal Lamping. I think some fantastic records, and then Lousy of Silver and Briar is kind of like Weezer's White Album.
Sure.
It comes in a period when you weren't really expecting much.
Like, my intention here is to kind of close that loop and go, like, kind of like lead back into Lousy with Sylvia and Briar when we get there.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I'm not going onto this album and saying that it's shit enough that if you like it, you're wrong, because I can understand why you can like the sounds of this record, but I just don't.
I mean, that's totally fine. But I mean, like, this is probably like when I was getting into Of Montreal, it was a False Priest of Paralytic Stalks were like the new shit, you know. So of course, you know, this is what I would be drawn to first because this is what I started listening to first. So maybe that's part of it. Just a recency, or not recency bias, but like bias just by this is what I got into.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, there have been certain albums that I've gotten into probably before the other ones, and I probably have the hot take that they're the best. I not always, but like say with Brockhampton, I have probably the hottest take that their best is Iridescence, and everyone seems to think that's their worst.
Like, do I agree that songs like Godly Intersex and Hydra Fancies are kind of boring? Sure, I am totally down to have that talk. But like the first three tracks, I Feel Your Strutter, Aritis Defects, and Coquette are pretty much straight bangers. Aritis
Well,
Defects is a bit of a weird song. Like it's
if
kind
you're
of
gonna say songs on here are boring though, then why is this your favorite of Montreal? Because there are other of Montreal albums where I'd say they don't have a boring song.
Oh, I
The
agree.
last album before this has no boring songs.
I agree. But like,
But I guess you can say yes if you think there's higher peaks on this than the other ones.
Yes.
I understand that, but
like I don't think this is their best album anymore. But I still would argue that it is my favorite.
That's
Like-
understandable.
Like I
Dominic
think
with the contradictory statements in 1 second.
Well, no, I can
I get what I
like-
get what you mean.
the
like
lead in from
Joyrider is the best Petite League album,
right,
but
like, Rip's one
Rip's
is your
one's still
favorite.
my favorite.
Right. Like the lead in from Girl Named Hello to Famine or to Sex Karma to Girl Named Hello is probably one of the best transitions they've had in their discography. I think it's important to listen to the alternate version of Alrightis Defects and kind of understand. I don't know if you want to like put it into like a story context of like why that first version is there, or if there's, I don't know, it feels a little bit scummy to me to have the one where Janelle Monáe's basically stripped out be the one that people know, but then to have the version where Janelle Monáe is there and it's like a full duet, you can hear both sides of like the argument, kind of makes that song a lot more fuller and more interesting. I'm really glad there is a version of it that you can still listen to that. I just wish it was more prominent than the initial.
Yeah, I had to hunt to find it. It's not streaming really.
Which I mean, it's on Spotify, but no, it's not. No, it's not. I just have I bought this album like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's what. But like
Yeah,
the full Janelle Monáe version is by far the superior one, because it's like, of course they're actually singing together, and like when we listen to their song on the Arch Android, Make the Bus, the ability for Janelle Monáe to basically match Kevin, because Kevin is not the best singer obviously, and Janelle Monáe is really really good. So to match Kevin and keep pace like that is pretty cool, pretty incredible. And like I also am a big fan of just like the stylization of like the lyrics. Like I feel like they're very different than like skeletal lamping stuff and the hissing fauna stuff even, where this is very confessional, this is very personal. Kevin is just talking to you at certain points, and like that has not really happened before. Like there's still a lot of experimentation with Kevin's voice and how they sing and how they come across, and like even the Controllersphere EP has some like manipulation of the vocals and stuff like that. So that's another thing I really like, is just how I feel like a lot of this whole song cycle that I've been doing is an exploration of Kevin, of how they can use their voice in very different ways. And to me, this is my favorite version of it. He's just talking to you. She's just very confessional, like to the point where I feel like songs like Godly Intersex are there just to get some steam off. I don't know. I like, oh man, songs like Enemy Gene. That's probably my favorite one, where it's just so chill and mellow and just so fun.
It's gotta be an agree to disagree, I think.
Or like Famine Affair is really like Famine Affair is just like an indie breakup song. Like it is barely of Montreal. And like that's the thing. It's like I feel like when groups like this kind of abandon parts of what make their sound, they can be very risky, of course, because how else will you identify them? But here, I think having that John Bryan influence, having kind of that other person step in and be like, hey, let's try something a little bit different. Let's try mixing this differently. Let's try bringing real instruments back. I feel like that really worked for them to kind of give like a different kind of snapshot into how Kevin can kind of spring from project to project to project and give different influences and different sounds each time in that same framework. Because like this is only 2 years after Skeletal Lamping, pretty much. Like, this is, and then like Paralytic Stocks itself is very different from this.
Yeah.
And like the Controllersphere EP for what it is, like I don't think that EP is as good as this. Obviously, I think it is probably the weakest part of the whole Georgie Fruit saga, and it's basically like stuff that was recorded around the same time as False Priest, and I don't know if they're B-sides or what? It's kind of like I feel like the climax of everything, where that first song, Black Lion Massacre, is very dark, like very much just like literally a massacre, and religious ritual, like shenanigan, bad shit happening.
Yeah.
And then like stuff like Holiday Call is kind of that signature of Montreal long song thing. You're passing as a grotesque animal, things like that. But I don't think Holiday Call is as good as those because it is less dynamic. It is just kind of more repetitious. It has kind of like a Indian influenced kind of woodwind section kind of thing going on, but other than that, it's not good as anything else. The only thing about the controller sphere that I really, really like is I don't know how to pronounce it. Lagdor, large door, whatever. That song sounds good.
Liage
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. I think I've probably offended people just by pronouncing it like that, and I don't know who.
Oh, other things I wanted to mention. Again, having both Janelle Monáe and Solange Knowles on an album is pretty incredible, I think. Those are some really good features.
Yeah.
The one song where Nina Barnes sings in Icelandic, that's really wild to have.
Yeah.
I think that's like a tourist. Maybe. Can't remember right now.
The list I have doesn't show the features. So.
No, it's no. Yeah, I think it's like a tourist or something. Either way, that's really cool to have just Nina there back when they were married and have that whole just someone speaking in a different language for once, kind of having that kind of giving it a little bit more of a different feel. And then You Do Mutilate. It's a weird kind of song that they initially ended on for this album, and I guess it's still the official endpoint, but it's easily their most political song. Like, Kevin's rant at the end of You Do Mutilate is very unlike anything of Montreal does, where it's a whole thing about, like, if you, like, it's like a rail against religion, and if you were, like, searching for the afterlife, and you're, like, more worried about religion and the afterlife than what's going on around you, than your typical Carol evil, you're ill kind of stuff. Like, those are big words from someone who does not go usually into the political realm with their songs like that.
Yeah.
But I do think that song, Tonight, is a better ending for the album, where it's just a piano song. Very kind of just sad and much more stripped down. I think that works better as an ending.
I tried, but I could not find that song on YouTube or anything.
Really? Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah.
You should have let me know. I would have given you the file.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Tonight's a pretty simple stripped down song, but I feel like You To Mutilate is so weird and esoteric in a way that it doesn't work as well as a closer. Then you get our Rightus Defects alternate version, which I like quite a lot. And Tonight, yeah, definitely much more of an appropriate ending for this whole sound than. Yeah, that's a lot of what I have to say. I really dig this album. I think it's stuff that they were going for on this album. I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they were going for holy fuck moments. And I think they succeeded for me. Coquette Coquette is just a rock song. When does Of Montreal do rock songs?
Yeah, that is fair.
Or like Enemy Gene is a throw to like sci-fi, and again, Kevin Barnes doesn't usually like throw to sci-fi in their lyrics. Controller Sphere, not as good as Icon's Abstract B. I would say it's probably the climax. Like I would in this story sense, probably some kind of climax to everything where it's the most sexual. It's even more sexual than Skeletal Lamping, but like in a very like dark and gritty way.
Yeah.
Like this is kind of like the kinky BDSM side of things, but it is also still an interesting listen. Plus, just like where the fuck do you get a title like Flunk Sass versus the Root Flume?
Yeah, that is fair. That is a wicked title.
Oh man, I dig this a lot. That's all I really have to say about that though.
If you like it, you like it. That's pretty much all I can say.
Yeah, like if no one else is willing to back me up on this, that's totally fine. But
you don't need people to back you up. That's the fun of music.
Sure. Also, I feel like a Strutter is.
Good.
I feel like a Strutter is probably the happiest song of Montreal has done.
Unless the hill that you're dying on is defending Lost Prophets, that's the one that you can't.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't have that one or the Orwells.
See, there are a lot of rapist ones where you can defend the music from the art. the only. I'm not trying to defend the All Worlds here. A bunch of cunts. But
Yeah, you can't defend a
Lost
baby
Prophets is the
fucker.
only one that I've seen no one, and for good reason.
Also, Around the Way is the song that has the Icelandic moment in it. Again, very cool, very different. Dig that a lot. Also, when does like of Montreal going for video game references? I also am really fascinated by, because this is the second one in a row where Skeleton Lamp talks about going to play Halo in the other room, and in this version we have in this album we have Janelle Monáe like talking about like I guess we're just say Kevin, because it's not actually their relationship, I would assume, but just a relationship like this where I was like,
Now,
I never made fun of your World of Warcraft obsession.
I want to admit that I've been looking at clone hero charts for a bit to try and find some more songs, and there are a lot of Australian acts I can't find, specifically for ones that haven't been in Guitar Hero and stuff. But you would never fucking believe it. I searched up at this band, and it had one song there's a chart for. Anyone want to guess what the band and the song is?
Middle East.
No, it's not Middle East. We have covered it though, and we covered it recently.
Hmm.
Give you 10 seconds.
I got no idea.
Tism.
Dominic, you want to throw in a song with that as well?
Saturday Night Palsy.
You got the band. It's Anarchy Means Crossing when it says don't walk.
Okay, that's a choice.
That's the only chart. That's so fucking weird, man.
That's not one I would do necessarily right away, but if that's like a simple one to do, maybe like a shorter one,
Maybe.
sure. Yeah, I could see tracking that.
It's the only one that exists on chorus.
For now.
Just something interesting I thought I'm searching that.
No, I dig that though. Alright. So my favorite tracks off False Priest, Enemy Gene. Hold on, I gotta get back there. Famine Affair. Love those songs a lot. Like, I don't know if they're necessarily my favorite songs from Of Montreal, but they're definitely in like top 10, if not top 5 conversation. When we talk about Paralytic Stocks, I'll have more to say about that. Least favorite songs, Godly Intersex, and Hydra Fancy.
Yeah, favorites or remix of Croquette. Everything else just doesn't really hit.
I did not listen to this album enough to kind of feel comfortable giving an opinion on it.
Also, we'll shout out the Janelle Monáe alternate version of Variety Defects, because just having Kevin sing the whole thing, with Janelle Monáe just being in the background, feels a little shifty to me. I feel like there's some weird sexism going on there in some way. Like, why would you record a whole duet and then just do it yourself? But
yeah,
I don't know. My ranking's gonna be very unique then. Noteworthy 01 will be my third. Second will be Dr. Colossus. First will be Of Montreal. But to probably expand that a little bit, I would probably put the Controllersphere below what the fuck it's called. I'm a Stupid Moron. But even below that, I would probably if I could rank the bands on Noteworthy 01, again, it'd be like Native Son at the bottom, Group Streaker above that, then like 94 Nicks, then Thick, then Plain Dog, maybe Plain Dog and Thick can switch. Your Dog, Blasteroid, Petite League's kind of out of this conversation into its own thing, obviously. Then we get to Of Montreal's Controllersphere, and then we get to Dr. Colossus, and then we get to False Priest at the top.
Chicks, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll just kind of go hit the highlights. I'm gonna go number 3, Noteworthy 01, and that kind of whole mess I did. Number 2, I'm gonna put the Of Montreal albums, and number 1, I'm gonna put Dr. Colossus.
So I'll do it as 4. Number 4 is False Priest. I don't care for this album. I'm sorry, Dominic. Number 3 is the Controllersphere as well, which I feel like everything. It's very similar in style, kind of, to Icons Abstractly, just kind of like how it's created, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But I think Icons Abstractly was way more interesting. It just brings nothing interesting to the table. Number 2, I'm actually going to put as Noteworthy 01. I thought there was some actual nice surprises on that. And number 1 is just by far, like, there's some good picks this week. I'm not into False Priest and stuff, and I can understand why people would like them. Dr. Colossus is just fucking good.
Yeah.
It's really good. False Priest is so good, though. Sorry that that'll find its audience here, but
Now you know how I felt the first week of this podcast.
and how you thought when we did Violent Soho.
Yeah.
That's fair, because next week we're still doing Up Montreal. It's fine.
All right. We
Alright,
want to go into next week.
I've picked an album myself that I'll let Dominic go first, but I've picked one that I know I'll like just so I got something to look forward to.
Okay, we're doing the album that I was originally going to do before I decided to do this whole thing. We're doing Paralytic Stalks, probably one of my, I don't know, it's an album that is really important to me in a way of just like expanding my view of music, like what shit can do. But it's also a very obscure and esoteric, like hard to get into a Montreal album. And we can talk more about that next week, but I'm not going to pretend that this is going to be necessarily like an easy listen, especially if False Priest gave you issues.
Chicks, you want to go next, or?
Yeah, I'm throwing it back to 80s new wave like I did with Talking Heads, and I'm going to be doing the album Dead Man's Party by Oingo Boingo.
Yes. Yes. I love little girls. It's not on this song, but like, it's not on this album.
No.
But Oingo Boingo.
No, Oingo Boingo is great.
For those who haven't made the connection, we've gone from Simpsons to Simpsons here.
Really?
Danny Elfman.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So a while ago, I made the joke that saying that if I had picked my mom's choice for the parents episode, it would just be Santana. But now I'm actually gonna like be serious and pick an album that my mum was into, way before I was into. And it's actually not that old of an album as well. It's only 12 years at this point. And we're now gonna go into very popular Australian indie. We're doing the Temper Trap's debut album, Conditions.
What is the brand called?
All right.
The Temper Trap. You would recognize the song Sweet Disposition.
How do you spell that?
The Temper Trap.
Tempa-T-R-A-P?
Temper Trap.
Okay, gotcha.
And their debut album, Conditions, which that one blew up because I'm pretty sure Sweet Disposition originally was in 500 Days of Summer. And
Oh!
it went into a lot of other movies as well.
Alright, I just watched that again recently, last year.
Yeah.
So I probably would recognize it.
I think it's in that one. Hold on. 500 Days of Summer soundtrack, just to make sure I'm not fucking myself up here. 15 more. I know they talk about the Smiths a lot. Yep, it's in there.
Okay. Yeah. The talking about the Smiths in 500 Days of Summer, very iconic for me.
Mm-hmm.
My friends love
I mean,
that scene.
they also have Wolf Mother in that as well, apparently. Like, actual good Wolf Mother. There was only one good Wolf Mother album, though.
Alright. So, that makes next episode Temper Trap, Editions of Montreal, Paralytic Stalks, and Oingo Boingo, Dead Man's Party. And that'll do it for us. Otherwise, I've been Dominic. Catch me at DACICHOCKI on Twitter. I've been building Windmill Studios in the past. You can go there to read my work, in my opinions in writing.
I have been Ritalin. You can catch me on our website, Ritalin for Kids at github.io. I don't know exactly how you're going to catch me on there, but I guess we can all figure out a way. That's the fun of the internet. I also have a YouTube channel, which I kind of post stuff on there. It's mostly just CSGO clips these days because I'm a fucking nerd. I don't have any other follow-up to this that doesn't end up in me revealing my credit card information, so that's 574-992. I can't remember how many digits are on the credit card.
I'll just cut out random numbers just to be sure.
Yeah. I didn't even say close enough. It's in a number. I'm pretty sure there's 16, not including the security code on a credit card.
Sure.
I think I only said 9 there, so.
Good luck finding the rest.
He's safe.
Let's check my credit card.
I've been. Ritz does that. I've been tricked. You can catch me online on Twitter at procrastronaut_. It's like procrastinating astronaut, and then an underscore at the end of it. You can catch us all on our YouTube channel, our website, Dissonant Waves That Space, and Dissonant Waves respectively. And yeah,
Now, I
Good.
know I'm safe because I said so many fives in that string there. I don't think there's a single five in my credit card.
Excellent.
nice.
Good luck with listening, everybody. I hope it'll find you well in the next week. We will see. Don't kill me.
I'll kill you.